Actor and playwright Morgana O'Reilly is exploring her love-hate relationship with her self-styled mum bod in her new play, Stories About My Body. The fact she's had time to write the solo play is surprising given she's starred in the TV series Inside and the Sounds and is currently filming Series 3 of Mean Mums. But Morgana really wants to have some fun at her own expense, as well as encouraging people to look in the mirror and love themselves just a little bit more. When she came across her Form 2 diaries that documented how much she'd hated puberty, she was just coming to terms with her adult body, entering a new chapter after she'd had 2 babies.
I've had this show boiling away in my brain for a while. Also, because it's called Stories About My Body, which it pretty much literally is just stories about my body, I can feel that my body is just entering another chapter of its life. I'm 35 3/4. I've had 2 kids, and yeah, it's changing, and I want to talk about that. And I think I've just tried to make a show that I would like to see at the moment. So, yeah.
Tell me about your Form 2 diary.
Oh, well, I could tell you some of that. That has been quite funny and sad and interesting going through that. In 1998, I kept a diary every day for Form 1 and Form 2, but all the way through Form 2, really religiously. And it's been under lock and key since then. And I've pulled it out and gone through it because I know how much I hated my body at that time, which is nothing new. Everybody, I think, goes through it to a certain extent, sometimes more, sometimes less. And so I was interested to look back at that and to what veracity I was hating myself. And it's actually kind of sweet because it's sort of, in some ways, it's so innocent. You know, I'm 12 and then 13. And that age, you know, you're just straddling being an absolute child. And then I was quite into the idea of growing up and exploring all the things that being an adult had to offer. So on one hand, it's just this really cute little naive girl talking about being a big girl. And then there's some really sad body stuff in there. But then, I think the first excerpt that I say in the show from her, 12-year-old me, is from the 21st of July, 1998. I love this cologne. It's so nice. It reminds me of the Jet Sonics. It's called Lynx, Africa.
That is very sweet.
Yeah, so I think it's a nice way to sort of get into it. And then the show kind of explores, I guess, where I'm at now and all the things that my body has done, but then being aware that it's now going into a next chapter. And like I say in the show, after talking through my body and then, wrinkles joining the internal panic of my body's fallibility, but that this time I'm going to go through it as a conscious person and not a terrified teenager lacking in any self-reflection about the intersubjective Western ideals of a woman's beauty and worth. Ha ha!
Go you, I'd have to
Right?
say. It sounds like a lot of things have kind of come together for the timing of this, because you were in a film, I think, last year, and you did something that my understanding is an awful lot of actors just would refuse to do or dread, and it's the full nudity in a
Yes.
scene. You know what I mean? So was that, how did you approach that?
Yeah, so that I think has definitely played a part in being ready to make this show. Yeah, it's a project that Jackie Van Beek has written, and it's so cool. It's all in made up gibberish. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, I need to weasel my way onto this project so bad. And then it has full nudity. That was non-negotiable. But that was actually a really cool process, when you first take the robe off just before action, there's a good 20 seconds where it feels really wrong. No, this is not good. This is not how it's supposed to work. And then after that, you just get over it. And it's actually really fun. That might sound strange, but it's really fun and beautiful. And you're with a group of people in the great outdoors, and you look around at everybody, and everybody's skin tones matches the world around us, the earth, And it just makes sense. All of a sudden, looking over at the crew and seeing a bright orange puffer jacket, that looks strange. It was good. Kind of unlocked something in my brain a bit.
I mean, this is fun, but it's also such a big issue, isn't it? The body image. And there are still children and adults who will starve themselves, you know, in the name of trying to have the perfect body. So I think that, I mean, there's a lot in here that you're exploring, really.
Yeah. And trying to sort of like process it for myself as well, because all of that stuff is varying degrees of where your mind is at. And I make a disclaimer at the start that, you know, my body has been through a fraction of the things that other people have been through. So I am not an authority on eating disorders or anything like that. But, you know, nobody spends as much time as you do just thinking about your own shit. Can I say that? You know, like assessing the way that your stomach changes after kids and how your clothes fit differently. And I think also because my job happens to be in front of a camera, there is an added element of consciousness about that.
Well, I was thinking about that too, because in a way you're judged.
This has been a really nice process to try to like converse in my soul about that and try to be really honest and joyous and funny. I'm going to try and make you laugh at my boobs, like quite literally, which is going to be a good time.
Well, I love the warning. It's the first time I've seen a warning saying there will be nudity and you will love it.
Yeah, it's pretty confident, eh?
I mean, you were hoping that part of it's going through this process that you might just learn to love your mum bod, as you call it, a little bit more. Is that starting to happen?
I think so. It's still off and on. I think it's just always going to be a process, eh? But like, as I say, I'm going to try and be conscious about making these decisions around my body and face as it starts to age and gloosh and bulge and droop and harden all the different ways. Although I can try to maintain and keep healthy and do all that stuff, but I can also try and make a decision to like it instead of feeling that I need to change it, because that's not sustainable after a while.
You're working blimmin' hard, though. I mean, just looking at what you've done in the last couple of years, you know, you're running from job to job, so I think you're keeping fit in that way. And I did love Inside for Prime TV and Neon. That was just such a great COVID, I mean, directly COVID-related, extraordinary work.
Yeah, I feel like that scares people off at the moment, but like...
No. It's I mean, it's our present, but that moment of lockdown was our recent history. And to actually see it at the time, I thought, I mean, how quickly did you guys get that up?
Oh my gosh. Well, Luminous Beast, which is the production company behind it, which is Shoshana McCallum, Dan Musgrove and Peter Salmon. Peter Salmon happens to be my husband. They created this in I think they jimmied up the idea in a week or something like that, because it was sort of a NZ on air call out for a quick response grant. And so they sort of, came up with the concept and then got the funding and wrote it really quickly. But what's really cool about it is it is right there in that first lockdown in all of our minds when it was really scary for all of us. And so it serves as a really cool backdrop to that character's anxieties that are there anyway. So, yeah.
Sounds like you had far too much fun doing that. And I imagine Mean Mums. I mean, you're gearing up to film, or is it about to start? Mean Mums Season 3. Now, that's a real achievement for New Zealand drama.
Season 3. And, I feel extra invested in it now, I think, because when we did Season 1, I had Luna would have been 3 and Ziggy was 6 months old. So I was, pumping and breastfeeding between takes. And then in Season 2 last year was sort of, in amongst all the madness of lockdowns and everything, that was fine. And then this year, now Luna is solidly at school. So I feel like I can really relate to that world now. And also I just feel so guilty that I'm not doing more to do fundraising for the school. I'm unfortunately, I'm definitely not one of those mums from Mean Mums. So thank you to all those mums that are.
We should talk about your character in Mean Mums. And is she going on an arc, do you think, in season 3?
I think she's got some really great capers ahead of her. What I love is how she faces adversity. I think it's really open-hearted and joyous and happy-go-lucky, and she just goes for it. And she's also much more entrenched in the school, so she's not as clueless as the last few seasons, but still manages to make her jess-ups all the time.
I know you love comedy and you have a gift for it, but you were also in The Sounds, which I watched too, this New Zealand-Canadian co-pro, and that was a really different kind of character for you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Well, I love comedy so much, but I still can't. I mean, Mean Mums is definitely a comedy, and one thing I love about the style that it has, I think, is quite different for a Kiwi comedy. I feel like traditionally Kiwi comedy is a lot drier, a lot more kind of cooler, it's sort of like whatever, like you can laugh if you want, but if you don't laugh, I don't mind. Whereas Mean Mums has got like both fingers pointing and a big smile like, But even with my show, Stories About My Body, which I'm making, there's lots of, I think, funny bits, but I still can't bring myself to call it comedy. Like I love dabbling in the dark arts so much. And I think the comedy in me only strengthens the darker bits, if that makes sense.
Do you have a more natural home on stage? I mean, I didn't realise you were one of the founding members of the Basement Theatre, so well done you on that.
Yeah.
On that. And this is where Stories of My Body is going to be performed. But is theatre a more natural home than screen? Although you've done a lot of screen work, of course, in the last few years. Are you happy with both? Because they're different. They're different styles of acting. We've got to remember that.
Well, first of all, I love the theatre. I love screen. I love being on a film set. It's just my favourite place. But I love being at the theatre as well. And I've started to really realise or think up a good analogy because people often ask, like, what do you think the difference is between theatre and film? And I think essentially you're still coming at it with your same instincts and feelings for tone, like whether you're doing a Roger Hall play or a Tennessee Williams, they're going to be different tonally. You're going to be coming at them differently. The same whether you're doing Mean Mums or The Sounds. But what you're doing on the day, when you're working on screen, I think you are offering up a lot of colours for the editor and the director and the producer then to paint with in post, like in the edit afterwards, so that they can thread the story together. And trying to be aware that the colours are just right to shade it just right. Whereas for the stage, darling, you are the editor. So while you're trying to create character and all that, you're also having to think about story as a whole and not just little individual moments. You are working with pace and meaning and sense to create a full, roughly hour of a story that nobody's doing cuts and things into. So it's just a different kind of meal, I think.
Morgana O'Reilly's play Stories About My Body premieres on Tuesday at Auckland's Basement Theatre.